Hey, Jeff with Paramedic here. Thank you for checking out this video on the movement of blood throughout the respiratory and the cardiac system. If you have any questions about this, feel free to put them down in the comments. We'd be happy to chat there. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that way you can get notifications for all the new videos that we have specifically for EMT and paramedics. We'll see you there. Before we really get into the ventilation side of things and getting deeper into the lungs, we need to understand the kind of the movement of blood throughout the body itself. So we have two particular pumps that are running and fluids running through those, okay? The blood being that fluid. We have basically all the blood that's coming from the body, coming from tissues, coming from the organs, all that kind of stuff. Okay, we know that oxygen is being used within those cells and within those organs. So after that oxygen is used, what it does is that it's going to send it back to the lungs in order to be reoxygenated. And in order to do that, what it's going to do is going to send it back deoxygenated, okay, blood after it's been used from the body, back to the superior, okay, the superior and inferior vena cavas, which fill into this right atrium here. Okay, it gets pumped down into this right ventricle here, and then gets pumped through the pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary artery would go over to the lungs like so. Okay, then we're going to get into the deeper understanding of the lungs in just a second here. But what happens in this particular point within the alveoli, what's going to happen is that we're going to replace all that CO2 that happens to come from the perfusion of those cells. CO2, when it meets here in the deoxygenated side at the alveoli, it's going to be basically ventilated out through exhalation. And during inspiration, we're going to have O2, oxygen, come in and re-perfuse these red blood cells that are going to make it to the lungs and essentially come back through, okay, the reverse process. I'm just going to put that in a better color so it makes sense for you, and you can probably guess what color I'm going to go with here. So it's going to get re-oxygenated, and then it's going to come back through like so. Okay, and it's going to come back through these pulmonary veins, okay, into the the left atrium, okay, down into the left ventricle, and it's going to be pumped through the ascending and descending aorta, and then it's going to reperfuse the body, okay, reperfuse those cells and give them more oxygen, give them more nutrients, and allow for them to dump off their CO2, okay, for their CO2 to go back and basically be excreted through the lungs. That's a main way. The lungs and the kidneys are the main ways that we get rid of the cellular byproduct of CO2 during cellular respiration. Okay, so that's the movement of blood through the body, and that's the role in kind of the grand scheme of things that the lungs have to play on that role, bringing in oxygen in and getting CO2 out in order to basically make sure the body stays in homeostasis. And that's what our bodies are doing right now at this very moment. Now, there's a few different kinds of respiration that we have here and ventilation we have. So first one we have is pulmonary ventilation, and that's number one. Okay, pulmonary ventilation. And pulmonary ventilation is the movement of air, okay, through kind of everything that's going on, okay? So it's movement of air in and out of the lungs. Pulmonary ventilation is that, okay? Then we have something called external respiration, okay? Number two, I'm going to put EXT, okay, external respiration. And external respiration is the movement of oxygen between the lungs and the blood. So if there's a red blood cell here, it's external respiration. That second piece here is the transfer of oxygen, okay, O2, from the lungs to those red blood cells. Okay, that's external respiration. And then three, we have the transport of that gas. Okay, so number three, okay, is transport. Okay, and that is going to be moving blood from the lungs, okay, through the heart, okay, through back to the body cells to be and keep them perfused. That is the third part of this kind of picture, is that transport. And finally, number four, okay, number four is internal, INT for internal respiration. okay, is the movement of that oxygen that's in the red blood cells from that area to the cells of the body. That's internal respiration. So those are the four big pieces, or the circular map that we have here, the movement of blood. We have the pulmonary ventilation, which is the ventilation of oxygen and CO2. We have external respiration, which is the transfer of oxygen to those red blood cells. We have 3, the transport of those red blood cells' oxygen throughout the body. And then finally 4, we have internal respiration of the oxygen that's going from the red blood cells into the cells themselves in order to be used as energy, to used as cellular respiration. So that is those 4 pieces. Okay, and I'm going to stop there for a quick second. Do you have any questions about the movement of blood? If you do, perfect, put them in there. If you don't, put all good in the comments, just so I know that I'm not moving on too quickly from this particular concept. So go ahead, let me know if you have any questions, or say all good in the comments so I know that you guys are all set. You guys are feeling good so far? AG? Facebook feed is black. Okay, well, I'm not going to stop to figure that out. We're just going to keep going on the member side here. Sorry, guys, if you guys are having trouble on Facebook. Hopefully that gets all sorted, but we'll keep on moving. If you're lost, don't worry. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them out there. If this is your first live, these do go a little bit quick, but again, if you have questions, I will always come back to it, so don't feel like you can't ask them, okay? And also, this class will be available for recording tonight or tomorrow morning, so you can review it in as well and make sure you pick up these concepts, okay? So that's the 4 pieces of moving of blood.